No, I'm gonna take care of it. Scott starts first. Hold on. Three minutes. Okay. I have Can you hear that? 1 minute. Your number. Your number. It is now 6 o'clock, so I will say good evening and welcome to the Caribou City Council Candidate Forum. By charter, the Caribou City Council is elected first Monday law or by the city's charter. A few housekeeping items before we get into the forum. We ask that everyone continues to wear their mask for the duration of the event. In the interest of safety, we have chosen to use a boom microphone to limit the handling of the mics by the candidates. Thank you to Mr. Gary Marquis for being our board. We realize that there's also a school board meeting tonight, so if you click away from our forum, please know that these are left here at 493-5319. Finally, we ask that audience members here please refrain from applause or noise of any kind throughout the duration of tonight's forum of the public question period at the end of this evening's candidate forum. And right now, as we welcome the candidates, beginning with Courtney Bowman, Scott Brewer, John Oliver, Hugh Kirkpatrick will begin in just a bit with Ms. Courtney Bowman and conclude with Mrs. Willie. Following opening statements, we begin the question process, again proceeding in alphabetical order. This time with Mr. DeRosers, who will respond first to question number 1, followed by Mayor Vaughn, and so on. And any on social media platforms that will help us. Thank you very much for that. We also did receive several questions form the to respond at a later time.
Vision for our community's future. My name is Cody Bowman. Aside from the time that I left to attend college, I have lived here in Caribou my entire life. Where I worked for 6 years, at which point I made the decision to stay home with education at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. Many families making the move to Maine and ongoing efforts to remediate the problem of the properties, also known as blighted properties in our city. These properties pose a danger to the residents. The third reason I'm running for city council is that I would like the opportunity to work with our city departments, including our essential services and school department, to highlight the positive impact and critical role that each of these play to keep our community safe, healthy, and prosperous. I believe that each of our city departments witness this firsthand as a lifelong citizen of the city. My hope is that my children will be witness to these. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Mr. DeRosier, you're up.
Hello, and thank you, Jason and Christine, for allowing us this platform so we can reach the community and share what each of us has to offer. My name is Scott Rogers, and I have not lived in Caribou my whole life. I've lived here since December of 2018, 22 months to the day exactly. We moved to Caribou, where my wife Chelsea grew up, because we felt it was the best place we could raise our children. My 2-year-old daughter Olivia, and my newest addition, Raymond, who's 4 months old. We felt the beauty, the recreational activities that promote the outdoors rather than the phone screens and TVs, and most of all, the kindness of the people were the reasons we wanted to live here. Clouded by the long-standing politics of a small community. Thank you again.
DeRosier, Mayor Gahn.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to first of all thank all the candidates to serve the city of Caribou for the next 3 years so elected. My name is R. Mark Gahn, Farmer Mark, and I'm running for council. I've been employed for the last 40 years by Farm Victoria and the Farm Daughters at Gahn's Berry Farm. The farm is a diverse family business with a motive to capture the tradition of Aroostook County while providing family fun in a safe, worry-free, clean, and affordable atmosphere. The 40-year-old business plan for this enterprise has encountered many setbacks, along with many rewards, with the best reward of all, family. The family could not have achieved these rewards without the help, encouragement, and understanding of so many kind-hearted businessmen and women that could look through our youth and sense a business dream. 30 years ago, I was looking at another large expansion with the farmers' daughters taking ownership. Our dream could have only been accomplished because of the people in Aroostook County. Our family is blessed to live in Aroostook County the way life should be. The view of the building of Gahn's Berry Farm as a part of many options on how we, the Caribou residents, build our community, sustainability, both in government and the private sector. At the farm, we've had the budget for results. And when results aren't achieved, the family knew that doing the same thing the same way is not an option. I think local governments could benefit from this principle. I do not run against any one person or candidate. I am running to promote a conservative philosophy on personal responsibility with the goal of that kind of philosophy that has grown Gahn's Berry Farm. The same kind of philosophy that every private sector businessman and woman has when they take that key to the front door of their business. Thank you very much.
Gahn. Mr. Oliver, you're
Say that I'm very passionate about this town, the memories that I have growing up here, as far as Little League, and, also pilots. I remember when my parents volunteered to help build Deep Park. They're all moments of Caribou community really not that again. A few years back, that pandemic struck us, really hit Aroostook County and Caribou. Before long, we get the word out. 1,000 people standing in a room in CPAC for multimedia and important effect in the cafeteria for everybody to see. And it was on the drug. We had a town meeting, everybody came together. And just about 8 people a day. And one of the concerns are, our head of our municipality worked extremely hard. I was actually employed at the our head of our municipality worked extremely hard. I was actually employed at the public works department for a couple years with someone else. And you knew I had questions, and I don't mind Marky all day. And quick responses, and those guys are going above and beyond, for us. Passionate about the community, here to help, here to work with you people, and I think an open line of communication is helpful responses.
Thank you, Mr. Holliburn. Mr. Patrick, your two.
Maintain their positions. There are 5 candidates being promoted by the council statement. There's a small group of people who don't want their budget reviewed. They want to maintain their positions. There are 5 candidates being promoted by don't want taxes to go down, don't want their department metal, etc. They've marked don't want taxes to go down, don't want their department metal, etc. For me, as a fifth generation citizen, Councilor Terrio says definitely solutions for problems going to be solved right here by us. Not letting the fear of what we face limit what we can accomplish. We have to decide what we want to become, make decisions. Having a rigid personal constitution, which is not compromised by special interests in the community, certainly helps city departments. If I'm reelected, I'm willing to continue difficult decisions that previously some current council members were not willing to make. Council members who are not willing to make difficult decisions that personal feelings, personal relationships influence their voters. My wife Ashley and my 2 daughters, Natalie and Viviana Willie. I also own and operate RLW Property Management, which maintains many properties and services, almost specifically to Caribou. The reason I am here tonight explaining why I am a good choice to be part of this city's council is that I've always felt that I have had an obligation to my local community for what it has given back to me. It took the year 2020 to bring this out in me. I love this country, I love this state, I love this town. Growing up in the family business and learning some of the lessons of life from my grandfather, who was one of my heroes, taught me a lot about having pride. I always knew that I would live here in the changing world, as well as the housing world that we manage. We have developed many systems of processes, procedures, and communication to be able to achieve this. There was nothing in any of our thoughts for a pandemic of fear, but just like with the American pride, we all had determination to do this no matter what. No matter if it was a 2-week curve or an 8-month scenario. We are all and still remain determined to get through this together. Through the many different obstacles that we face, it occurred to me together with good communication and good information, no matter what the situation was, we had a much clearer path. This is where I realized I had not put enough effort into my community like I do on daily responsibilities that I carry. I have the understanding that for anyone in any local area to have a positive growth in whatever they're looking to achieve, the community around them is a large factor. There has never been a moment where there has been so much pride like that hand. This is how I knew it was time for me to step up for my community.
Thank you, Mr. Willie. Now the 2 minutes opening statements will conclude with Mrs.
Thank you. I want to begin by thanking you for the invitation tonight. Serving on the Caribou City Council has not been a lifelong ambition for me. Up until the summer, I was looking forward to retirement and just concentrating on my family. I had been approached over the years to run for seat in the State House of Representatives, of the Caribou School Board, along with a variety of local committees, but the energy involved in that was daunting. Prior to leaving my job as the director of the Teachers Association in Worcester County, I was approached by several municipal employees and was made aware of the state of our city. I was shocked that there was an active push to privatize or outsource our city's essential services. After talking to teachers, police officers, and community members, I realized that this issue was going to be the energizing piece I needed to pursue the seat on the city council. Since my retirement in July, I've actively discussed issues with people in Caribou. My question to them was, how will the losses of essential service affect you? Many worried that their homes would be devalued by services. Some were concerned their insurance rates would go skyrocketing because we no longer have a fire department. And many elderly were especially concerned that the ambulance would not be available when needed. During these troubled times, why should anyone have more than one thing to worry about, especially when it comes to safety of their family? If cut taxes was the driving force behind these changes, what good are lower taxes if our city is crushed by usage fees and pay-as-you-go services? I've raised 4 children in Caribou, and I am now busy raising 3 grandchildren. I am well aware of the issues facing families. I am quite creative when it comes to balancing budget and finding unusual solutions that make ends meet.
Much, Mrs. Willie. As we head into the question and answer period, I remind you all that in this period, we allotted approximately 90 seconds. We ask that you please try to refrain your answer to that time period. Time will begin after the question is read. The official timer, Christina Kane Gibson, will hold up a yellow card when 30 seconds remain behind you, and a red card when time has expired. Please finish your thought promptly if you see a red card, and I will try to help enforce that along the way. So we will begin with our first question, and it goes to you, Mr. DeRosiers. What do you see as the greatest concern for the Caribou community?
I don't have a greatest concern. I have a lot of concerns, which is one of the reasons I'm running for this position in the first place. Obviously, we have to grow the population. We have to find ways to get businesses back and retain businesses that are here. That's been said many years before, and it still hasn't been resolved. There's different creative ways to figure that out. But the way the city council is taking us right now, I don't think it's the right direction to help us grow. I don't believe going to a full volunteer fire department or removing the ambulance service or removing the police department is going to help our town. I've moved many places before, and a driving factor to get families to new places is many of them: education system, career opportunities, cost of living. But one of the top things, real quick, is safety. If somebody lives here, they don't feel safe because their house can burn down, or they don't have the police to protect them. They're probably not going to move here. If you can't feel safe in your home, it's not a home. I want my kids to feel safe in this community, which is why I brought them here in the first place. And I want everybody's family to feel safe in this community too.
Mayor Vaughn, the question goes to you. What do you see as the greatest concern for the community?
First of all, I'd like to state that I think many positive points that could be brought up. However, the questions asked of us, what are our concerns? I have several, but if I had to pick one, I'd say my biggest concern is how we build our operating budgets in the city level from year to year. Caribou has historically used what we call incremental spreadsheet budgeting process. These are annual budgets that are created simply by taking last year's budget and applying some across the board. This approach permanently freezes into place yesterday's inefficiencies and works against innovation. An example could be the Caribou ambulance service fees in surrounding communities. The department costs $122 per person to the Caribou residents, while only charging $11.50 per person to the surrounding community. The $11.50 was locked in for years because of this budget process. The answer to this concern: zero-based budgeting that constantly reevaluates the needs and fund programs that deliver better results, eliminates inefficiencies, and the best results, and provides the best results with limited resources available.
Mayor, Mr. Mr. Oliver, your 90 seconds on this question.
For me, it's hard to prioritize concerns with this. A lot of here, but for me, it's revenue outside of that. Evaluate revenue resources, and I feel like once the word cuts is brought up, it's a never-ending battle. With a growing municipality and a depleting population, it's a losing equation. But we have all the resources right here. Upper population, age, more people, all the attractions in the school, for the fire department, police department, public works department's great. So why not try to attract more people to develop our community? We need more revenue outside the action.
Mr. Oliver, Councilmember Kirkpatrick, you have 90 seconds on this question. Your greatest challenge, your greatest concern.
I simply have the greatest concern down in many years. All the city sets its own rate and is able to raise revenue, pay for services. That's the greatest concern.
You, Mr. Lee.
The greatest concern facing the Caribou community right now is COVID-19. COVID-19 is closing businesses, causing issues with personal issues, as well as our school and everything surrounding our community. Outside of COVID-19 and the issues that come about because of it, I feel as though the biggest concern is misinformation. I think that a lot of what happens in council meetings, outside of council meetings, has a form of misinformation skewed around it that causes the public to not be able to give in their exact feelings and ideas on the situation. Due to the misinformation, we have a separation in our community. So I feel as though if we can get a more clear form of communication on all of the subjects that surround this town, we might be able to come together and solve them much more efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Wu, you have 90 seconds on your thoughts about the greatest concern for the community.
I have many, as Mr. DeRoche mentioned. I believe the most important piece facing us right now is in our leadership. As I read through the paperwork that Christina gave us at the beginning, and found that the city council is in charge of so much in the city of Caribou. However, they're so busy right now looking at the negatives and trying to destroy what we have in existence that we are going forward. We're not making improvements. We're not looking beyond today with the driving force of bringing down taxes. As I said earlier, low taxes don't really help when you're paying everything else out of the pocket. So I'm looking to improve the leadership, work on a team approach, and build consensus where there is none, and work forward to make the future a little better for our kids.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Wu. Now move on to the final candidate on this question, Ms. Boma. Ms. Boma, what do you see as the greatest concern for the
I believe the greatest concern is making sure that our community can hold on to the current residents that we have and attract some new residents as well. And I think that goes back to the 3 reasons I'm running for council. But in my opinion, the best way that we can do this is to adopt a positive and collaborative approach. I think that we need to make sure that when we're dealing with the issues in our community, we do so in a way that we work together as a team and as a community. And we also need to start taking note of the really great things that our community has to offer instead of focusing on some of the negative. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boma. We will now move on to our second question. It will go first to you, Mayor Vaughn. That is, again, a question submitted by a citizen of Caribou that asks, what is your definition of economic development, and how, as a council member, will you expand the economic base?
I personally set 4 goals for myself when I became mayor, and one of them was the definition of economic development. it has failed miserably. Question. The definition is the investment of time and money resulting in the direct increase of taxable valuation. With the understanding and definition of economic development, I have no problem with the city manager spending 50% of their time working on economic development. The other 50% of the time should be spent on efficiencies of operations and reductions of costs, resulting in better services and reduced costs to the citizens of Caribou. Knowing Caribou taxpayers are investing resources into a team of men and women under the leadership of the manager, I leave it to the manager's discretion as to the allocation of that investment. My measurement of success, both short and long term, will be built on results. My opinion of the results is based on my simple farmer's point of view: better services. With a declining population, it is asked of all Caribou businesses in living with.
We will now move on to that same question for you, Mr. Oliver, and it is your definition of economic development, how you as a council member would expand the economic base.
As you understand, sitting here, I'm not a driven politician. I will say that, to me, economic development should be the growth of our community, without jeopardizing health and safety of the citizens. I feel as though, I've talked to several business owners, some very, very, very good ideas. Some are simple, with some short-term effects or short-term fixes, and some are very grand, take a little bit of backing, that would be an alternate fix. So I don't understand why Caribou hasn't got these great business lines together to, maybe put a committee together to plan some good plans. There's some great lines in this town. We need to.
Mr. Oliver, that question now goes to you, Councilmember Kirkpatrick.
My definition of economic development is simply anything that increases the taxable valuation of the city. How do we get there? Prioritize economic development, retain all current businesses, provide a climate and template for their expansion, line, rules, regulations, ordinances, boards, and committee goals. That is outside of that. Simply, why don't we follow the first law of our mission statement? The city of Caribou, local government, actively committed to welcoming, encouraging, and promoting continued development of commerce and industry.
Patrick, Mr. Louie, you get 90 seconds on this question, your definition of economic development, how you would grow the economic base.
Economic development, something I've talked about in my house since I was a young child. Economic development to me is progression. Progression through business, privatization, the household economic base and or the business base with progression. As a council member, I plan on expanding on the economic base by taking a second or a step back and not thinking exactly about business. Every time I hear economic development, it has something to do with businesses, either coming in new or expanding on what we have. The other form of economic development, which is what I deal with on a regular basis, is more in the housing market. I feel as though Caribou has an opportunity right now where there's a lot of out-of-state, out-of-town people that are moving to green zones for the sheer effort of safety, as well as the opportunity that brings to them and their families. So as far as expanding the economic base, I would like to start bringing in people to start that and bring about better change.
Economic development for me is how do we grow as a community. And I've always thought that small business, especially in a small town or small city, is the way to go. I find we don't encourage small businesses well here. We can't encourage growth if we don't create an atmosphere that encourages growth. I believe as a council member, I would like to see incentives for new businesses. I would like to see small grants to encourage expansion in current businesses, and allowing people in the community to work together to build that base. We can't add to our tax base, if we don't have our storefronts built.
We'll go back to the beginning of the line here with you, Ms. Bowman. The question again, as a reminder, is what is your definition of economic development and how you as a council member and your work to expand
I believe that economic development involves looking at the resources of an area and finding ways to capitalize on them to generate revenue. As I mentioned in my opening statement, we have a lot of natural resources in our community that are being underutilized. As a council member, I would work with my fellow council members, city officials, and community members to expand outdoor recreation opportunities. Traditionally, we've had a lot of revenue generated from snowmobiling. We're starting to see more revenue being generated through the use of beach trails in the summertime. But I think that we can really expand upon that as well. And we have high school students who need 50 hours of community service to graduate high school. What a wonderful opportunity for them to help with our community. I think that we could enlist the help of lots of community members and volunteers to help in this endeavor, so it wouldn't cost a lot of money for the community.
I think we will move on now for the last word on this question.
Economic development is basically a way to generate money in a way that Caribou residents benefit. The biggest part of the economic development is to increase the quality of life for our residents. In doing that, I say it, but it's going back to the same old problem. You need more people, you need more jobs. I get that. COVID also throws a big wrench into getting people here, getting more jobs. But there is a demand. I've called several times to have heat pumps installed, to have my furnace serviced, to have the grubs in my lawn taken care of from last year. And it hasn't been resolved, and it's not a knock on the businesses. There's just a lot of demand, so they can't fill. So there is opportunities for other businesses to come here, and there's opportunities for different businesses to come here too. I don't know why I would need to drive to Presque Isle in order to put my dog in kennels and go away on a trip. Why don't we have a dog grooming service? Sure, we have a dog park now. Or we could get a dog grooming service, and people would do that too. So there's businesses that come here and there's ideas that come about, but we need to get together as a community and figure it out. We can't just talk. There needs to be some type of business committee to give people ideas who don't have businesses, or even us to promote them coming here. I don't know how we do it yet. I don't have the answers, but I am willing to learn and figure out ways and listen to the people, how they think. Because it doesn't just take 7 people on a council. We're not, the brain trust. We need a lot of people to tell us and help guide us to the direction we should go.
We will now move on to our third question. We'll go first to you, Mr. Holmberg. The question is, usually when economic development is discussed, it's about bringing new businesses and industry to Caribou. Do you think it's equally important to bring new families, as was just mentioned, into Caribou as well? If so, how would you go about making Caribou more attractive to people looking to relocate?
Well, let's face it, Presque Isle is going to get the industrial park on the walk down. It's paid millions of dollars for Caribou to set up an industrial park, get that industry down. So why don't we go back to our roots with Caribou shops? Go back to that. Other local business officer, owner gave me ideas about, incentives. Why not just housing buying incentives? First time home buyers, people don't want to stay here, or for first time buyers, people relocate. There's all kinds of opportunities for incentives. Like Mr. Drozer just said, it's not about, us 7 council members. It's about bringing these ideas to the community, and the community take back feedback. Like I said, I don't understand why the community isn't voiced more in the council as far as ideas go. That business owners I've talked to have actually voiced that their ideas have been put to paper but always shut down. I think that's reasonable.
Mr. Holmberg, Member Patrick, your thoughts about attracting new people to the area?
I think the simplest way to attract more people to the area, have a lower mill rate than most of I guess magnet compared to all the other communities around us.
Mr. Willie, your thoughts on this question?
I think to attract more people into our area, one thing that we have for us actually is, unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic. We have a lot of people that have seen our area on the national map with the positive news of the numbers that we have of Corona. And it's causing actually a flex of different people moving up from this area. I don't know how far anybody's been downstate in recent months, but it's very hard to see a main plate in the tourist area. Unfortunately, the census was done before the pandemic or around the pandemic timing, so a lot of the numbers that we're looking for we may not have in the short future. I also think that we have the resources here to show these people, such as our new school, our police department, our fire department, our ambulance, and our willingness of our people to extend a hand any time that they need. I think once people are here, they understand why we stay here.
Well, and Mrs. Willie, your thoughts on this one?
While I was still actively teaching, there wasn't a week that went by, especially in spring, when the principal would bring a family, a doctor, maybe was moving into the area, or someone new. They wanted to see the classrooms, they wanted to see the schools. The only way we can pull new families and new people into our community is to continue to make sure that we support our rec department, which is, as far as I'm concerned, the best in the county, probably the best in the state. We continue to support our school system. We continue to look at our essential services and make sure that our firemen, our policemen are safe so that they can keep us safe. And those are the kinds of things that encourage families to come in. They look at those things first and business is secondary. And I think it's important that we have the best foot forward when they come through to see what we have in Caribou.
Thank you, Mrs. Willie. The question, and I'll go again to the other end of the table. Ms. Boma, again, your thoughts about attracting new people to relocate to this area. I have 90 seconds.
I certainly think it's equally important to bring new families to Caribou, as well as businesses. And in my opinion, now is the time to do so, because we do have a beautiful brand new school that's staffed by amazing and dedicated educators. We have a high school that's equally well staffed and an amazing technology center up there. We have a police department that works diligently to keep our streets safe, and they also do a lot of outreach in the community. They participate in programs like the DEA National Prescription Take Back Program. They're a needle drop-off site, and they provide sharps containers for people who need them. We have a fire and ambulance department that has the most highly qualified staff in Bangor. All of our first responders are trained paramedics. We have a public works department that works around the clock oftentimes to keep our roads maintained. Our parks and recreation department offers amazing programming for both children and adults. Our library is wonderful. We have a hospital that provides award-winning healthcare. We have state-of-the-art equipment. I think there are numerous employment opportunities there as well. We are also home to a lot of private businesses that help support our economy. But with all of that said, I do believe that we need to address some of these blighted properties in town and foster a deeper sense of community through the support of our city employees. So I think we could capitalize on some of those resources we have right here by just highlighting those positive things. So I think these changes will help make Caribou more attractive to new families, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boma. Mr. DeRosa, you have 90 seconds on this question about attracting individuals to relocate.
This is another question that can't be resolved quickly. Yes, I do believe it is important to bring new families to Caribou. I am one of them. 2 years, in case I hadn't mentioned it. There are many ways to make it more attractive. One was discussed the other night in the meeting. Our logo, it's like we're not even proud of our own town. It doesn't even say Caribou. It's not, it's easy. Throw Caribou on the logo and lump it back. But we also have the new school that's being built, like Ms. Bowman just said, which offers excellent education and athletics program. When outsiders, myself included, uh, what we see in Caribou, we see an underdeveloped community and it's backwoods. Why would you want to go there? But we need to figure out a way to convey to people what is good here. We have snowshoe trails, snowmobile trails. We have a mountain 30 minutes away. They don't think of sports. Now we have a back-to-back state championship. We just need to be prouder. We've also had entrepreneurs, professors, doctors, SDI agents, even an astronaut. So we need to let people know we are a good education system and we can grow people to develop and be the best for not just our community, but the country. Mr. Rogers, we will now move to Mayor Gahn for the last word.
This was another one of my 4 goals that I tried to achieve when I became mayor. I do not pick one or the other. New business and industry, along with attractiveness, all are equally important. But I had to pick one. Last year, I sent a directive out of the office of the mayor, Mark Gahn, in the interest of protecting both rural and urban neighborhoods from blight emanating from uninhabitable and rundown housing. I hereby create a panel and impanel a Citizens Advisory Board for Residential Rural Urban Renewal. This board will consist of volunteers who will study the problem to determine the cause of vacant and substandard housing, make recommendations to the council intended to reverse the condition, which will make our neighborhoods stronger and safer, make recommendations that will ultimately increase neighborhood valuation, and recommendations to come before December 1st, 2019. The people that I've asked to serve on that, and they willingly did so: Paul Camping, Jay Camp, Kim Ring, Jessica Glore, and Karen Roulette. These citizens kind of some effort. They presented the council with the following packet. There's enough in here. Anybody can grab a piece of this, maybe. But this is something that we've. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gahn. We will now move on to our next question, and we'll go first to Council Member Kirkpatrick. The citizen who asked the question states the following: I understand that some of the candidates have been making the effort to familiarize themselves with city departments to understand how they function within the government framework. What is one thing that you learned about a city department that you did not know before your time? I would imagine this is on the council in your case. And then in your case, running for re-election, how do you stay connected with city departments? About 90 seconds.
So we're good. I stay connected with the city departments by reading the weekly Good to Know each email she sends out every Friday afternoon, which contains a summary of all weekly happenings. Is the question specifically how you stay connected with city departments?
In your case, what have you learned? If you've done any visits, have you learned anything about the city department you didn't know? And how would you?
I definitely made a few visits, and I plan on making a few more visits to departments. The one thing that I learned that kind of struck me, and I understand why, but that city employees cannot run for any office. And I understand that's a conflict of interest, but I also understand that some of the most hardworking, brightest minds in our community work for our city, luckily. But to get away from the legality side, the one other thing that I learned was stopping by the police headquarters and fire department and understanding how hard they have to work with the budgets that they have to fulfill the job that they need to do. They don't have all the necessary tools and they don't have any type of comfort or luxury in those areas. And I would really support that everybody go and check out the police and the fire department for themselves to see. How I plan on staying connected is exactly how I found out the information that I know, by actually going to the departments, talking to the chiefs, talking to the head of that department, as well as talking to the people that run those departments. Thank you.
Mr. Willie, Mrs. Willie, again, the question is, what is one thing you may have learned from a city department that you didn't know before, and how would you stay connected?
I actually knew what you didn't know. I've been to a few places. I've gone to I had been to the fire station early on, but, just through teaching and so forth, bringing kids. And I've also, went to the police station. I understand the issues. I understand they lack the comfort. Sometimes they lack the equipment. And they do such an important job for us. Going forward, I, like Ben, now that I'm retired, I have plenty of time to actually go and visit, see how things are improving. I find it very troublesome and concerning to me that, there are morale issues. I learned this through watching some of the city council meetings. And after visiting, I can see why. I would hope that I could help rectify that. I know I can't fix all the problems, but it would be good to be able to just go and speak to these people and see how we can help.
Bully, the question again goes to the front of the line here to Mrs. Boma. Ms. Boma, your thoughts about anything you learned new about city departments, the campaign process, and how you would plan to stay connected.
So prior to deciding to run for city council, the only department I had a whole lot of knowledge about was the rec department, because I worked here when I was in high school. So over the past month or so, I've taken it upon myself to visit the police department, Caribou Fire and Ambulance, and the Public Works Department. And I guess I noticed the same thing about all three of those departments. And kind of to go along with what Mr. and Mrs. Cooley said, they work very hard with what they have. So they work hard to maintain their equipment on their own without looking for a lot of outside help to spend money to maintain equipment. They work hard to try to secure grants so that they can purchase the things that they need with grant money. And I think that they look for offset the cost of new equipment when they can. So I think they really are working hard to save taxpayer dollars, and that was something that I didn't realize until I started visiting and asking some
Stay connected and have you learned it.
I'm also one of the people that visited the fire department, and one thing that I learned, I've only been here for 2 years, so I can't really say how many people don't know this. The firefighters are too, and I played pickleball with the firefighters. So I think the value exceeds the cost. And working at a car dealership, that was the one thing. In order for somebody to spend money, the value needs to exceed the cost. I think the dual threat of having a fire and ambulance paramedics, the value far exceeds the cost. And if people don't understand that, and they're just looking at a number on a piece of paper and they're saying, why am I paying for this? We need to explain it before we cut it, and then they wonder why it wasn't taken care of. Have an issue. In order to stay in touch with them, I would like to meet with them once a quarter or twice a year in order to hear them out, hear what their concerns are, so we can fix the issues before they build up as snow. If I'm elected, they'll have my number. They can reach out to me anytime. Same with anybody. There's plenty of ways to reach me. If you have a concern, feel like you're not being heard, I want to be able to be the one that hears you, brings your problem up front.
We will now move on to the council chair.
In the city form of government, the chain of command starts with the citizens of Caribou, then the city council, then the city manager. That's as far as the city council goes. We have no employees other than one, the city manager. We do not say to our department heads. That is the position of the city manager. So I'll answer the question, how do you stay connected with the city departments? Through the city manager. Thank you.
On Mr. Oliver, the last word of this question.
I too went community visited departments, working for the Public Works Department in the past. And also I'm very frequently in contact with Chief Day, who are always growing the Governor community. I didn't know the extent of the responsibility and the sheer determination heads of these departments. I have Gary here and I thought maybe let him fall for a while, and these guys are a lot goes on behind closed doors for these guys day-to-day jobs. They run a whole budget, like a lot of the other candidates said. They seem to be adapting at best with the changing times. The fire department, ambulance, and GD especially have, changing crime rates, and consistency of the crimes are much different. With the COVID hitting, the fire department and ambulance have so many different restrictions and obligations to fulfill in just a normal, safe call. And so the equipment is at best, I mean, they work with what they got, like the other candidate said. Public Works Department is flawless in their duties. They're like Ms. Bowman says, out all night plowing and stuff. And like I said, a simple line of communication, a healthy line of communication can solve a lot of these issues. Just a good thank you or good job, or I'm proud of you, good work.
Thank you, Mr. Halliburton. Mr. Willie, our next citizen question, citizen asks, what do you see as the role of downtown and small business in Caribou? People often talk about the Caribou of years past. What kind of support would you lend to the revitalization of the city, especially downtown?
I believe the role of downtown and small businesses in Caribou is the promotion of what we offer outside of city services from our citizens. People do talk about the Caribou of years past, but we need to adapt and change with the changes that are coming before us. The kind of support that I plan on lending to the revitalization is something I do every day. I am an investor in this town, and there's pretty much most of our investments are specifically in this town. We like to buy property, we like to fix it up, and we also actually don't like to sell. We like to keep maintaining these properties. If a great example of how we have revitalized this town is Linden Street. We've taken certain projects on one by one to make that look a little bit more welcoming when you come into our city, turning from sleepers. As far as what else I can do, I plan on providing any support, resources that I have, and taking any time needed to meet with any person that has any idea that we can put forth. Thank you.
Willie, Mrs. Willie, what kind of support would you lend to the revitalization of the city, especially the downtown?
I grew up in the city past. I'm a little older than most of the candidates here. And I remember the shops and the stores and the storefronts. And I also remember and know that our small business has always been cyclical. We've gone through years of nothing, 2 years of growth. And as I mentioned before in one of the earlier, along with economic development, if we don't encourage people who are willing to open a small business, then there's really no reason for them to open a small business. So we as a community need to be welcoming and encourage people to come. And as I mentioned before, it could be through an incentive, a small grant, something that says, hey, these people really care and would like to see me succeed.
Thank you, Ms. Willie. Mrs. Willie, I should say. We will now ask Courtney Bowman the same question. What kind of support would you lend to the revitalization of the city, especially the
So I have to agree that the downtown has changed a lot since when I was growing up. When I was a child in Caribou, we still did have small shops and boutiques and things like that in the downtown. And I don't know that we'll ever look exactly like that again. But I do think that right now we're working on some facade grants that are kind of sprucing up the buildings in town. I think we've worked really hard on Thursdays on Sweden, and I think once the threat of COVID has passed, we can continue with that, and I think that draws people to our community. So if we can draw people in to start shopping at some of our local businesses again, that will be really helpful in revitalization. And I think that this is another place where we can kind of involve the community as well. Putting flower pots downtown and having small business owners maybe help water them, having our students come in and do community service to help kind of spruce up those areas. I think these are some ways that we can revitalize our downtown. And then it will, slowly start drawing those businesses in as well. Thank you.
Mr. DeRosers.
So this question was asked in last year's forum too, for forums that in downtown Caribou is a tough situation, probably has been for many years, that I can see at least. Here. And even with bring businesses tax savings to move there, it's been difficult to find occupants. I don't think there is an immediate fix to revitalizing downtown. I do believe that COVID is actually helping us, as Mr. Willie touched on earlier. There are families looking to relocate to a rural area, smaller towns that are less crowded. I looked on Realtor.com last night. There was only 91 properties available for sale. So that's a good sign that people are moving here. And I think that's what starts towards the goal of town. I don't think it's immediate, but I think over time, as we get more people and businesses here, it will become revitalized. And hopefully we can get those businesses down. Mr. Rochers, Chair Don.
This is the perennial question asked every time there's a candidates forum. And when I read the question, I asked myself, how many years have we looked at this issue? How many times have we tried over these years to try the different things that we've tried? How much money have we spent on these different thoughtful efforts? My answer, we need to release the private sector. We need to release the ingenuity, the creativity, the efficiency, and the hard work of our private sector. Three factors are on this three-legged stool: taxes, regulation, and energy costs. At the city council level, we really can't do too much about energy costs, but we can do a lot about taxes and regulations. Started, and I'd like. Thank you.
On Mr. Holliver, your thoughts about revitalization of the city, especially the downtown.
I'm gonna kind of go with Mr. Bowman there. I don't know why we don't utilize the Caribou High School community service as well as a lot of churches and civic groups in Caribou that are willing to help at any given time. We purchased a community advancement for rural living, which is a 501c3 that purchased the old battered women's shelter on Hammond Street. We needed a lot of work, a lot of renovations in order to be a recovery residential house. We ran into a lot of budget problems with our renovations, and who we called upon? We called upon our local churches, Rotary Club, and they all delivered, and they delivered very spectacularly. Rotary Club sent the army, had us built it. They had a new deck built within 8 hours. We've got multiple fundings from churches, and also backpacks and supplies and utilities that we need. Incoming clients that really virtually had nothing. So some of these small businesses, I know there would be argumentative about, a paint job, and a high school kid that needs community service to come and do that. Like she said, flower pots, they're all simple things. You make a checklist of simple things, eventually they add it.
Mr. Holliver, the last word on revitalization of the city, especially the downtown, goes to you, Councilmember Kirkpatrick.
Thank you. 3 years ago, my answer to this question was, my vision for any of those commercial areas, including downtown, is not necessarily important. It's what we all decide. What do we want our downtown to look like versus what we let it become? My objective is, let's pick a goal and start moving toward it. I believe since then, Christina has a downtown group. They pick goals and
Councilmember Kirkpatrick, our sixth question will begin with you, Mrs. Willie, on the answer to it. The citizen asks, the charter has come up for discussion quite a bit in the past few months, most specifically with regards to the requirement for paying taxes, with two schools of thought, one being that taxes need to be paid by December 31st, and the other being that taxes need to be paid before being sworn in. Council member, I'm assuming is what this individual means. So where do you stand on this issue?
I taught school for 33 years, and every one of those 33 years I taught reading. And when you look at the city charter, under eligibility, Only qualified voters of the city who are current for all annual personal and real property taxes due to the city on or before December 31st of the previous year shall be eligible to hold the office of council. It says nothing there about whether they were sworn in, whether they were duly elected, whatever. I'm assuming they have to be duly elected. It says taxes will be paid. And on the next page, I believe, under forfeiture of office, number 6 says fails to pay all annual personal and real property taxes on or before December 31st of the previous year. Again, that's all it says. You can have a lawyer look at it and read something into it, but that's not what it says. Since I live with a person who was on the council, on the charter commission, it was never meant to be any more than pay your taxes before December 31st if you want to sit on this council. That's it.
Mrs. Willie, Ms. Boma, your thoughts on whether taxes, as it says in the city charter, need to be paid by December 31st or before?
I agree with Mrs. Willie when she says that really, when you read it, taxes need to be paid, whether you're a member-elect or a sworn-in member of council by December 31st. So anyone who's been elected to city council knows that the expectation is that taxes are to be paid by December 31st. So even if the member-elect hasn't been sworn in yet, they should have to have their taxes paid by that date.
Mr. DeRocher, your thoughts?
I agree with Mrs. Willie and Ms. Boma. The charter is what the charter is. It says what it says, and it doesn't say anything about being sworn in or not. And it just says the person becomes ineligible to hold office if they didn't pay their taxes the year before. I think personally the charter might be too lenient because in my recollection, taxes are due September 30th, so you had 3 extra months. And I know we're talking about a business day here, but if we make this exception, what's the next exception we're gonna make? So I agree with them, just follow the charter. If there's an issue with it, make a resolution and fix it later, but don't go back on what it says. That's what the people depend on.
Mr. Rogers, you're gone.
Comes as no surprise, but I do not believe in this clause of the charter. It is in the charter, and it has to be obeyed. I do not believe personally. This clause in the charter, in my opinion, is the result of small town politics. This clause in the charter, in my opinion, has the feel of discrimination. Dad would say, Mark, do not judge a person's value by their wealth. But it is in the charter. So the question to the answer, December 31st or before they're sworn in, no lawyer. We pay for a lawyer, i.e. his advice. Thank you.
Mr. Gahn, Mr. Holliver, your thoughts on this question?
Pretty simple to me. If you want to say pay your taxes. I mean, I grew up in a household of 5 and we didn't always have much money, but our taxes were paid. I mean, if you want to sit on this council and have a say in how you're going to run the town, then you tell the other thing.
Councilmember Kirkpatrick?
Yeah, the choice is either by December 31st or before being sworn in. My answer is neither. It shouldn't be in the charter. 4 points to make on this. Why are we the only community in the state with this provision in the charter? By raise of hands, how many people in the room knew this? Okay. What makes Caribou so unique? Again, no other community in the state has this problem. All citizens, especially citizens contemplating a leadership position in the community, should research why are we the only community with this problem. I'll give you a hint. Politics. Number 2, it's disrespectful to the Caribou voters. As stated by the city's attorney, quote, it should be the goal of the city to give effect to the will of the voters to the fullest extent possible, unquote. Number 3, It's disrespectful to the U.S. Constitution, again, as stated by the city's attorney. Quote, failing to swear in a duly elected councillor could have constitutional ramifications for the city, unquote. To give that some context, when you are elected by the citizens of Caribou to serve on the city council, you'll be sworn in by the city clerk. Although the swearing in process seems only ceremonial, you will be agreeing to uphold the U.S. Constitution. That point alone should remove politics from the issue. Last, number 4, we have a current and former councillor who, for whatever reasons, missed a lot of meetings, many times unexcused. The charter contemplates dismissal of a city councillor for missing meetings unexcused. Why is this never brought up in regard to these 2 men? Well, the answer is simple. They maintain the status quo. They don't ruffle feathers. They don't challenge the captains of the lifeboat. To summarize, having your taxes paid in Caribou has nothing to do with the charter.
We will now move on to Mr. Woolley for the last word of this question.
Tax season's always been the roughest season around my house. We definitely pay a fair share of taxes inside this town, and it was always important to my grandfather and my father and my family members that we pay our taxes on time to the best of our ability. When I passed in my paperwork of signatures, the first thing I received was the charter. I took it home, I read it. I understand that these rules were set for a reason. My problem with this exact situation is something that I deal with at work every day. When we have a situation arise that comes up from a lease or a legality, we look to the attorney, some of the attorneys that the cities use themselves. The one thing that we definitely do after getting legal advice is we set a precedent based on that legal advice that was given. So if there has been a legal decision and a decision made in our establishment, that is the decision to be made through the future until legal counsel has been sought again. So if this situation has arose before and has been handled differently, that's wrong. If this situation has not arose and has been handled in this way, then we just set precedents that you can pay your taxes on January 2nd and be a council member.
Thank you, Mr. Woolley. Our next question has a slight edit to it, based upon the advice of Christina Kane Gibson. We've shortened it and asked you simply share with us your leadership style, and it begins with you.
My leadership style is pretty simple. So I lead by doing my research, by asking questions, and by listening. And I think that's really important to be able to collaborate with others and to listen to the thoughts and opinions of others before we form any type of conclusion or propose a solution to any problem.
Mr. DeRogers.
My leadership style is definitely coaching, which fits perfectly with the visions I have for families in Caribou. I'm perfectly okay with taking the lead, but I also want to build the people and the community up around me. At the same time, sometimes a coach has all the answers and they can point people in the right direction, but sometimes they have to reach out to the players and other coaching staff to help make those decisions. In this case, the council would be the coaches and the community would be the players. We need to work together. And I hope this leadership style will fit your view of Caribou and that we can all come together to make it.
Thank you, Mr. DeRoger. Mr. Gahn, Mayor Gahn, your leadership style.
I'd like to be creative in thinking, but I also understand you do not have to reinvent the wheel. I get great fulfillment when I can sit around the table with my other six other counselors. And we start thinking outside the box. I find that exchange very uplifting for me, very uplifting.
On Mr. Holliver.
Yeah, I'd say, a lot of people say that I speak from my heart, with a lot of passion. When I'm passionate about something, I really go after it. But I think it's time, take the God out of your ears, put it in your mouth, and I think, listening to the community, and listening to your surroundings will go a lot further than, trying to be head honcho and take the lead. Thank you.
Councilmember Kirkpatrick.
While I don't necessarily have a textbook definition of my leadership style, I have some personal philosophies I try to follow together, form my leadership style. My leadership style is defined by its contrast to management style. Leaders work on the business, managers work in the business. As city councilors, we work on the business. The city manager and department heads work in the business. As a city councilor, I'm not interested in and did not get elected to solve problems. The city has $6.2 million worth full-time employees to do. I may have strong opinions on certain subjects. I leave room in my mind for new information which may change my position on a subject. I try not to think or speak in absolutes. My father advised me at a young age not to use terms such as never and always. Thinking and speaking in absolutes can stifle progress and creative solutions in the future because people have locked into their positions. I also avoid at all costs. I never use the term fair. Most mature adults know life isn't fair. Saying something isn't fair suggests that life is supposed to be fair, which is frankly immature and naive. 3 goals I'd like to accomplish as a another 3 years as a council member. Increasing taxable valuation, continue lowering taxes, maintain all services.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Kirkpatrick. Mr. Rowley.
I like to run my leadership style by teamwork makes the dream work, and also that my network is my network. So at work every day, I like to surround myself with people that have special abilities for the department that they're in. I go to those people and also the people underneath them to get the exact result that we're looking for, or the best result that we're looking for. I can work with anybody to get a job done. I don't set precedents. And like I said before, it takes the teamwork to make. Thank you.
Fully your leadership.
I'm basically a listener. I like to hear what people have to say. I also believe that we are all in this together. We need to be part, whether you're sitting on a council or a person in the audience of a council meeting, we all have common interest. We are part of a team and we want the best, or I believe we want the best for our city. Also in situations of decision-making, I think it's best to try to come to consensus. I know that isn't always possible, but to get everyone at least on the same page and close enough to agree that the way forward is agreeable for everybody.
Thank you, Mrs. Bully. The next question, and we'll go to you, Mr. DeRogers first, is that for more than 10 years, the citizens of Caribou have experienced division and strife in local city politics, as asserted by this citizen in this question. First, with Citizens for Responsible City Management, second, the succession movement, and now the movement to recall the city council. What steps should the 2021 Caribou City Council take to unite Caribou?
This goes back to the last question and what I would like to accomplish as a council member. I'm a new resident of Caribou, and I have the advantage of being on the outside looking in. I understand that every problem isn't fixable, can't make everybody happy. What I have witnessed through local visits and talking with Caribou residents is a complete disrespect of the residents. A lot of residents feel they aren't heard, listened to, or brushed to the side enough. I understand that residents get time during council meetings to air out their grievances, but more should be done to get input from the community. I only had the opportunity to visit the fire department so far and plan on visiting other departments, and I was able to listen and hear all their concerns they have. I can only imagine what the rest of the community has for concerns and issues. Being here such a short time, I'm not sure what's in place. I don't know different options we have that are available. I don't know if a forum such as this can be set up specifically for residents to just air out their grievances. We don't have to say anything back. We don't have to make them feel like they're going to be belittled. We can hear them out, hear what their concerns are, all big, all small, and we can do it once a quarter, half a year, something that they can feel like they've been heard, something that we can all unite behind and come to a common goal. Find out what they actually want with their tax dollars, not what we think they want.
DeRogers. Mayor Gahn, your question.
Yes, I'm gonna basically say it clearly. This is politics. home at night and I watch the national news. I listen to what the Republicans say about the Democrats and what the Democrats say about the Republicans. I don't think after the election they're going to get together and sing Kumbaya. Look at the state level. Look what they're saying about Susan Collins. About Sarah Gideon. They're not united in their thoughts. And I put it at the same way at the local level. It's politics. I run a conservative philosophy. If I win, I will work toward that philosophy. In politics, I expect there will always be dissenters. With my philosophy, I do not expect some of those people on that Facebook page are ever.
Mayor Gahn, Mr. Howard.
Yeah, let's face it, 2020 brought division worldwide. This whole Corona thing and the extra stress it adds on everything, right down to the family at home. But like I've been saying over and over again, you know, what would it hurt to show up at the Public Works Department with a box of coffee out on the back after a long snowstorm? Or, you know, after an hour-long fire where multiple communities have to come together just to put it out, save the family. Show up at the fire department and say thank you. The PD, the relentless efforts they put in that people don't even see, that reports aren't made because it's just they talk the situation down and move on. Those are all people that we need to be acknowledging. Or you're not going to realize what you have until you lose it. I'll never let that happen. Like I said, a simple thank you, communication, healthy line of communication. I do agree with the whole Facebook thing. It's like Mr. Willie said earlier, it's a misinformation center. And with misinformation comes wrongful accusations and resentments and anger. That's not what we need. Very anti-proactive. So we need to unite healthy, have a healthy line of communication. We listen, and like Roger said, maybe some forms to offer community. Thank you.
Mr. Howard, Councilmember Kirkpatrick.
It's not my job as a city councilor to unite Caribou. Ask Tuppy John Rowe, Roger Felix, and all the big names that contribute to that Facebook page that is promoted to the other 5 candidates. What steps in 2021 are they going to take to unite Caribou? That Facebook page where a commenter called me a liar when I wrote an op-ed in support of keeping the fire name off the fund. That Facebook page where several commenters have insinuated the district's yearly charge to the city for fire protection was something I created after I got on the council. That Facebook page where several commenters have said the fire protection money was being deposited in my personal account at my grandmother's bank. What steps in 2021 are those commenters on the Facebook page that has promoted the other 5 candidates? What steps in 2021 are they going to do to take to unite Caribou? Ask the city employee who lives in Woodland, former mayor, and one or more of the city unions that implored the city manager to legally contest my eligibility to serve on the council. What steps in 2021 are they going to take to unite Caribou? Ask Joan Terrio, the former mayor, and the other 4 petitioners who want to recall Doug Morrell, a duly elected citizen with constitutional rights. What steps in 2021 are they going to take to unite Caribou? I've not done anything to create those problems. I'm not going to focus any energy on fixing them. That division was created by other people who could have run for city council and didn't, ran for city council and didn't get elected. I'm going to continue to focus on the changes which need to happen for taxpayers to get a better return on investment.
Thank you. We now move on to Mr. Wolf.
I think everybody here had some very good points. I have 4 general points that I'd like to make on steps to make the 2021 Caribou City Council unite Caribou. One is to agree and understand on a set of rules such as the charter and make it very clear as to how things are supposed to be run. Secondly, communication, just like a lot of these other folks have been talking about and their ideas. One thing I'd like to reiterate on the communication side personally is that the meetings have better audio and video. I have quite a hard time with a hereditary ear loss actually catching what they are saying. and or seeing all the council members or the people talking. Three, involvement from the people and also the city employees directly on what is going on and what will pertain to them. And lastly, and hopefully after this corona pandemic is safe for us to get together again, I hope and encourage that we have one of the largest Thursdays on Sweden Street possible. Thank you.
Willie, Mrs. Willie.
I think, contrary to what was said earlier, I think it is the job of the city council to unite Caribou. If not them, who? I think if you look at the divisive goings on of the last few years, you'll always see the same people behind all of the pieces mentioned here, except for removing a sitting city councilor. You'll find people who are looking to cut taxes, lose programming, make Caribou less desirable to live in, so that they don't have to pay what is right and fair. And fair is a word that I think we need to look at a little more closely.
Thank you, Mrs. Willie. Ms. Beaumont, the last word on this question.
I've stated this before, but I believe that we really do have a lack of collaboration in this community. Collaboration should mean that counselors are willing to work not only with the counselors that they're aligned with, but also with the department heads, the city manager, the city employees, and the citizens of our community. I think that in order to unite the community, the city council members do need to take an active role in helping.
Thank you, Ms. Beaumont. I have noted that it is creeping up on the 7:30 hour, which is the time that we indicated that we would end this forum. We are going to extend it just a little bit, but in order to do so, we do have people who have come out this evening, who have taken the time to come out, and so we're going to forego the last two questions and encourage the candidates to either respond to those questions online or to individuals as they ask them to make their views known on those at another time. However, we're going to open it up to the audience to ask if they have any questions. As a reminder, audience, the questions are indeed for all candidates, so please do phrase them for all candidates. Mr. Marquis will go out to you, so please raise your hand if you have a question. Well, in that case, we will likely be able to end closer to on time because we'll proceed to closing statements at this point. Closing statements for each candidate. You will have 2 minutes to complete those closing statements. Each candidate, again, those 2 minutes with the same timing cue, so get a 30-second yellow card, and there are 30 seconds remaining for the question. Given the order that we just completed, the closing statements will begin with you, Mayor Vaughn.
Thank you very much. We created a rainy day fund the last 3 years. First got on the council, we didn't even have one. We're up around $800,000. We again joined and support the area agency on aging. We eliminated 60 Access Highway, the old Econ building. There was a big issue there. We aligned the ambulance department costs with service fee costs. We lowered the mill rate. We gave city employees a $500 bonus, one of those pats on the back that you hear everyone talk about. And we asked them to use it at local businesses. Full benefit of the Homestead Exemption Act was allowed this past year. We formed a blight committee. Councillor Hugh put together an excellent presentation on November 18, 2019 on the 3 big departments that this city has and the cost analysis of that. We started with zero-based budgeting procedure. We now support the Eurostic Chamber of Commerce. I tried to get economic development defined. I didn't do very well with that one. We changed all the street lights. This was work that was done from councils before, but we finished it. A savings of $100,000 to the citizens of Caribou, and we let that savings stay in the budget. When you call the police, they're gonna show up. When you call the fire and ambulance department, they're gonna show up. When you see it snow, the plows will be out clearing the roads. No employees were laid off, no salaries were cut, no hours were diminished. What do you know? Caribou is still standing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Gahn. Mr. Holabird, your closing statement.
Like I've said in previous statements, I'm not a seasoned politician, and I didn't come in here with anything written down or premeditated. I am here out of straight passion and heart. I love this community. I am a person in long-term recovery who gets multiple phone calls a day, messages and everything else, all hours of the night from people struggling. And I consider myself a man of God. So with that, the first thing I do is seek counsel. I never try to take on anything alone due to the simple fact that my mind isn't as good as multiple minds. So with that, I'd like to be given the opportunity to be a council member, and if so, I will definitely seek counsel from the community, from the churches, from civic duties, and the whole population. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Holabird. Councilmember Kirkpatrick, your closing statement.
Thank you. Thank you to Christina for organizing and promoting this event. And thank you to Jason Parent for moderating this beneficial exercise to allow our citizens to become more informed voters. 3 years ago, Mark and I ran against 3 city councilors and defeated them by a greater than 2-1 margin. The will, the mandate of the Caribou voter that season was changed. We replaced the mayor and another city councilor. I believe the last 3 years we have met, if not exceeded, the expectations of that mandate. Reduced the municipal tax rate by 1.2 mils. We created a rainy day fund of almost $900,000. In the process of debunking the myth that our fire and ambulance department makes money, increased the yearly revenue over $400,000. Invested in new LED street lights with additional lights planned. Maintained all municipal services, no cuts to programs or personnel. Maintained all municipal services with no cuts to programs or personnel. In closing, please get out and vote. City of Caribou makes it very easy to do so. Vote in person or by absentee ballot. This is the process by which you as citizens get an opportunity to elect the person or persons best to represent your vision and the direction you feel the community should be heading. I respectfully request the Caribou voter the privilege of serving another 3 years. I believe there is more to accomplish and we will exceed your expectations again.
Councilmember Kirkpatrick. Mr. Willie, your closing statement.
I want to start by thanking the citizens of Caribou and all the people in this room tonight. Everyone here running is reaching out to lend a hand and their time to help our community. I want to thank the citizens of Caribou for thinking of me to be part of this. I want to thank the staff and the many people that gave their effort and time tonight to put this event on in the middle of a pandemic. This allows the citizens of Caribou to hear their fellow citizens running for office. As of today, there's only a few departments I have not met with specifically, although I do still plan on stopping in. I have close relationships with many of the departments as I work closely with the city from time to time. Whether it is the fire and ambulance assisting an elderly tenant, the police checking in on a loved one that has not answered their phone in a few days, the highway department communication with snow removal and construction, the rec department with trail access on our properties and the events they hold, and also to the administration staff to assist with housing citizens in the safest, most efficient manner. I plan on having an open door policy, and I also plan on being part of drop-ins at departments, as well as representation with me and my family at local functions, especially once social distancing and Corona are over. I plan on bringing the ability to adapt and change to a fast-paced world to this council. This year was the fastest pace in changes and regulations to anything and everything customary I have ever seen. I plan on bringing my history of successes and failures in business as well as family. For if I had not had such failures, I would never have the success I felt I have achieved. These life lessons made me the man I am today. I also plan on bringing the pride and respect that I bring to work every day and the pride and respect that I show my family every day. There will be many obstacles that we will face, but we will face them together. And through effective communication amongst the council and amongst its citizens, we can achieve the success we are looking for. Again, thank you, and I hope I have your consideration on November 3rd. Be well and be safe.
Mr. Woolley, Mrs. Woolley.
I'd like to also thank Christina and Jason for the opportunity to be here tonight. It's an excellent way for people to see us, especially during the corona situation. I think we need to remember that a strong, vibrant community can only happen with, with open-minded leaders. We also need to remember that we can't grow economically if we have no infrastructure left to grow. We need to invest in our infrastructure, and the kind of infrastructure that attracts growth in family choice cities. People check out Caribou as a place to live by looking at what we have. We offer finest schools, best recreation facilities around, a good hospital, wonderful essential services. We offer a museum that needs to be promoted. We offer a wonderful library. And we offer, of course, with our fire station, an ambulance service compared to none. We don't attract new people to our community by getting rid of these services. They may still be in place, but the discussions to lose them have been had. Families need to see us as a welcoming community, and the only way to welcome new families will be through the services that we currently have. No one wants more taxes. We, however, need to be willing to invest in our future so that our future stays in Caribou. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Woolley. Closing statements next by Ms. Wilma. You have 2 minutes.
I would also like to thank everybody that was involved in the planning of this event. It's been wonderful to be here tonight. In closing, if elected to Caribou City Council, I will bring a spirit of partnership, innovation, and civility to the council chambers. And I'll work hard for our community to attract new businesses and residents, tackle the issue of blighted properties, and support our city departments. Now is the time to put our best foot forward as a community to promote positivity and cohesiveness. And I would like to help lead that effort. I thank you all for your time this evening and would greatly appreciate your vote in November.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. And final closing statements by Mr. DeRosa.
First, I'd like to thank the citizens of Caribou, everybody who's attended, everybody watching online, Jason, Christina. It's been great to be here. I've been here for times 21 months or 22 months, and I've given you 19 minutes of my time, and I hope it was enough to earn your support. It's certainly not enough time to elaborate on the views and ideas I have to make Caribou a better place. And if you do have questions, you're on the edge of your seat of which of these 7 people who all made great points tonight you are looking to elect, you want me to elaborate further, please feel free to reach out. Ina has my information. I'm more than happy to give out my email and phone number for anybody who has questions or concerns at any point, even if I don't win a seat on this election. I do want to help this community, and I'm a transplant, but I plan on making these roots deep, and I want to grow here with my family, and I want other families to grow here too.
Thank you, Mr. DeRosers. And to that point, to that effect, we have had a member of the community ask the question. I'm going to ask that individual to please address them to you. We're going to have the candidates stay afterwards, not in this forum, but address them to you individually afterwards, as we are out of time for this evening. I do want to say a couple of things. Quickly say thank you to Mr. Harry Marquis and our hosts here at the Caribou Recreation Department, as well as to the coordinator, Ms. Christina Kane-Gibson, and thank you to our candidates. Your time volunteer as candidates this evening is a testament to your dedication to the community, and no matter what your views, we applaud that, and so please join me in applauding our candidates. other things, finally, as I noted, we did receive several questions from the public this evening, and we clearly could not get to all of them tonight. Each candidate has been given a list of the questions that we received, and will have the ability to respond at a later time. If anybody out there listening needs candidate information, or anybody here needs candidate information, please do contact Christina. She will be happy to help. She can be reached at 493-5319. Finally, we also want to remind you that sample ballots for Caribou, both state and municipal, can be found on the city website, city clerk, and then the election information. You will be able to cast in-person votes in the November 2020 general election here at the Recreation Center on November 3rd from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you need information on absentee ballots, you can find details at cariboumaine.org or by contacting the city clerk's office at 493-3324, option 1 or 2. And yes, the request from Caribou City Manager Dennis Marker is to please have each candidate say their name to the camera before they leave. So we ask that you both do that before you leave, and also if there are any audience members who have questions, we want to address those with you. Again, this concludes this evening's candidate forum. Please feel free to stay and visit with the candidates, audience members. Please continue to safely socially distance and wear your mask, and have a great evening. Thank you. They want you guys to come and just say your name and talk to them. I'm going to speak here first. You might want to wait till
Benjamin Willie.
Jonathan Oliver.
Scott DeRosiers.
Yes, Mark Gone.
Hello? Oh, I can't get a hold of you. Yes, of course I do. I can't get up to the action. Okay, let's stop. Yeah.